Great morning, everyone, and especially to you, Sir Dr. Racy Sarviola Vida. Great morning, sir. So, for those people out there who doesn't recognize my voice, I'm Vince, 22 years old, in young and experienced. So, guys, I want you to know, guys, that I don't yet have managerial experience, but I do hope nga maka-understand mo sa akong pag-explain ani nga topic. So, okay, so today we are moving from organizational change management to individual change management. Like I am going to talk about how to manage change as an individual. But before that, before I dive too deep into that side, let's just first do a quick recap about the change management side. Before that, let me first introduce to you guys our objectives for today's report. So we will gonna tackle about the need for individual change as well as the learning and individual. Next is the personality and change. Fourth topic is the approaches of change, and the last topic is the implication of change and individuals. But I will be discussing only the three subtopics of Unit 13 about individual change kay si Miss Ruth itang na ang mag-discuss sa approaches o sa implication of change. So guys, if you remember that we perceive change as an alteration to make something different from what it was, from old ways to new ways. And while we also learned that change management defined as the skills and knowledge required in implementing change in a new way that ensures that the desired outcome is being achieved. So those are the definitions of the change and the change management. So I'll start this with a question: why should we talk about change? Like why we need to talk about how to manage change? It's simply because change is inevitable. Like we can't avoid change nor prevent it to happen. Like we human beings can't even run away from it. Like in any organization, any time, any situation, or even in our personal lives, na-agoy change na mahitabo. Like whether we like it or not, na-agoy change. If you refuse to change or if you don't want to change, what will happen to you? You will still get change. Look what happened to Nikia. Niingon sila diri tanawan niya. We didn't do anything but somehow we lost. It's because they refuse to change. They refuse to change their hardware design. So it means the reasons they end up failure or na disappear sila sa business industry, it's because there's a lack of innovation and sustainability. Without willingness to innovate, put any company at risk. Di think kasi sa una nga, they're at perk na of success, di na sila sa ibabaw, wala na yung makatubag nila. Like, in demand kayo sila sa market. Like, wala sila pakialam kay feel nila sila ng pinakakusgan sa tanan. Pero there's a saying na it's not the strongest of the species that survives nor the most intelligent that survives. It is the one that is most adaptable to change. So tanawa karon ano kaya nawagtang sila sa business industry kay feel nila sa una nga sila ni pinakusgan, tanawa karon wala kay tungod it is the one that is most adaptable to change jud ang maghangtod ani nga business industry. So I highlighted some article from the internet from ancient Greek philosopher Heraclitus, who maintained that you never step into the same river twice. Of course, most people interpret that statement as indicating that the river, that is the external world, never stays the same. It's always changing or constant flux. According as a saying, the only constant thing in this world is change. Then if you notice from 1980s to 2020s situation, you could really see the big difference, no? Kay sa una ang atong pictures sa una black and white lang. Karon unsa naman HD quality na. Sa una kinahon pa ang TV, karon flat screen na, di ba? However, there is another way of interpreting what he said. Perhaps the you who steps into the river today is not the same you who will step into the river tomorrow. So as what I've said earlier, na whether you like it or not, ma-change yun ang tao. So it's better, no? If you want to be changed in a better life situation, kung ganahan ta nga ang atong pagka-change is naa sa sakto. So it's better to learn how to deal with it and be an architect of our own change rather than waiting to be the victim of it, di ba? So next slide na ta. Need for individual change. Why do you need an individual change model? When we think of change management, we typically envision the actions we take, such as communicating, building sponsorship, managing resistance, etc. However, one of the keys to successful managing change is using an individual change model. That's because understanding how an individual experiences the change is critical for change management activities and interventions to take hold. Like, that's how important individual change management when implementing change. It helps individual kasi to move through in the change process in a predictable and expected pattern through using those model. Okay, next slide. Kasi individual change management defined as an understanding of how one person makes a change successful. The aims of this chapter are to give managers and others experiencing or implementing change an understanding of the change process and how it impacts individuals. So with the use of this individual change management, it provides framework for enabling one person to make transition using various change management models. What are those models? Like the Kubler-Ross change curve, Bridges transition models, Lewin's change management models, Adkar, Coulter theory, the McKinsey's 4S model. Inana ka-importante ang mga models sa individual change management. Kaya kung wala ang mga models, wala po individual change management. Kaya silbing ang mga models, magudamurag siya mo'y content or unod sa kanang individual change management. Kay kung wala na siya, di makulay, wala kay framework para makatabang sa mga tao, di ba? Siya mo'y silbing imuhang guide, ang imong secret recipe. Okay, next slide. Next slide, individual change model is critical because first, successful organizational change only results when individuals are successful at change. So how valuable is a new process no one adopts? How valuable is a new system tool no one uses? Like for example, if you have any employee who work at your company, maybe an IT personnel or a supervisor at the section, and you show him or you present him your change plan. Your change plan is having a new system tool. Tapos nagduduha siya, murag skeptical siya about it. Kay you know what? Katong mga people who work in the operation, they think na mas knowledgeable sila sa management team. Murag inana jud ilang mga mindset. So sometimes sometimes nga resistant sila kung magpa-implement ang management og kanang mga changes. Sometimes resist jud na sila kay tungod kay murag good feel magud nila nga mas knowledgeable sila, mas kabalo siya unsay mga necessary unsay mga dili necessary ato sa kanang operation. So mo usahay nga daghay mga resistance from the people who work in the operation kay tungod inana ilang mga mindset. So you know what, when you are going to implement changes or some change in your company, you need to focus on the individual experience change, especially to those people who work in the operation, because they're the one who uses those new tools, mga new system. If they fail to use those new tools or if they refuse to use it, your change plan will end up nothing. Remember, change is never that easy, but with the support of your people, nothing is impossible. Number 2, while we are all different, human beings respond to change in predictable ways. Knowing the fact that we are all different individuals, we have our own personality that separates us from one another, which makes us unique from the other. But the way we respond to change should be similar in uniform way. Lain man pud sila padulong sila norte tapos ikaw padulong kag south. So with the use of this individual change model, it helps you assess your people to respond to change in a predictable and expected pattern. Number 3, given the 2 principles above, we can connect individual change model to achieving organizational goals and objectives. So what I've said earlier, that in any resistance from your people comes with different reasons, and we have individual change model like Adkar to help us describe towards our people what successful change looks like from their perspective, which help them understand and embrace change. Okay, let's proceed to the next slide. Risk from ignoring the individual perspective. There are 2 major risks of trying change management without individual change model. So we do the activities but don't focus on the individual experiencing change. Without this individual perspective, project teams runs in a significant risk of completing activities without achieving intended results. Like for example, you just provide them comprehensive training activities, feed them so much knowledge about the change, and then after you just stop there. Kay feel nimo nga enough na to nila to perform the rule in the process of change. Little did you know na dili day to sila motivated, or else di pa to enough to convince those kanang resistant people. Feeding them so much knowledge doesn't mean they already have ability to perform the rule. That's why we have individual change model for us to have framework, guide, or guide on what should we do next, on how to assess people on what actually they need just to do their part in the process of change. Number 2, we have no way of knowing if we have succeeded because the individual change model describes the desired result outcomes. It also establishes a framework to know if we have been successful. Through the use of individual change model, we can clearly tell if our team successfully overcome the transition. One of the indicator if we have been successfully or if we have been succeeded in our change plan, if our people become comfortably or expertly use the new process or the new system tool, for example. So ignoring individual change model techniques when using change management plan lead you to the pointless and disorganized way. Next slide, application of the individual change model. There are several main application of the individual change model. There's a lot of mga models nga pwede na to gamiton sa individual change model, but process ADKAR model has proven so effective. The ADKAR model is simple yet powerful framework providing a results-oriented approach. Describes the 5 building blocks of successful change that helps you make sense of change so that we can implement more successful change in your personal and professional careers. Why most of the companies choose ADKAR as their model to implement individual change. As you observe, the ADKAR is simple yet incredibly powerful in terms of helping people unlock change. It has accessibility and actionability, and it's why people around the world have picked up this model and use it to make more successful change in their career or in their lives. So these are the purpose of individual change model. Number 1, focus organizational change management activities we complete. It helps us to be focused on what should we do next or what should we communicate about. Like for example, the ADKAR model. As you observe the ADKAR model, it has systematic process of action on how we assess individual and how we respond on what actually they need just for them to overcome their struggles and successfully help them to move forward and the next process. Like for instance, from building awareness, so unsay sunod sa awareness, desired, giving them some personal motivators or organizational drivers that would cause them to participate and support the change. So after na motivated na sila, what need you to focus next? Knowledge. So provide training just for them to have enough knowledge about the change. And after nga knowledgeable na sila, ari na po ka mag-focus sa ability hangtod sa reinforcement. So that it's give you focus, direction, and how you implement change towards your people. Number 2, provides direction for measuring effectiveness and for corrective actions. For example, using ADKAR model, it enables you to collect data from different groups across organization and to understand how effective our organizational change management activities have been. And also, we could take corrective actions if necessary. Like for example, one of our team member low iyang awareness of the need of change. So pwede nimo siyang i-assist siya just to make him aware about sa need of change, about the purpose of change. Or if naapod kay isa ka team member nga naglisod pag-translate his knowledge to ability according sa imong assessment, so pwede nimo siyang balikon adto tabangan to nimo siya through providing him coaching plans just to help him move forward to the next process. Something like mag-provide kag solution to a certain problem about sa struggle sa imong employee just to help correct or fix that situation. So that is one of the purpose of individual change model. It provides direction for measuring effectiveness and for corrective actions. Number 3, gives manager and supervisors a real tool to use when coaching employees. So if you want our manager to have effective conversation with employees about a change, we must equip them with a tool they need. Teaching them about the ADKAR model and how to use it with their employees prepares them to fulfill their role in making change successful. Number 4, serves as an effective tool for both project and non-project changes. Each and every day, employees, supervisors, managers, and senior leaders face change. An individual model of change gives them a tool that can be used to manage change, either non-project changes or project changes. Let's move on to learning and the process of change. Buchanan and Hosinski, 1985, define learning as a process of acquiring knowledge through experience which leads to a change in behavior. Learning is not just an acquisition of knowledge but the application of it through doing something different in the world. No dagan kayog scenario nun that you find yourself and require you to learn something new or to adjust yourself to a new way of operating or to unlearn something. Like for example, karon pandemic, daghan kayog nausab pareha karon. Online class, ang mga student nga dili ka mao mo computer or paggamit sa application na pugos o gamit na pugos o pagtuon o saon paggamit para lang makasulod sa klase. Okay, let's proceed to the next slide. The 4 stages of competence. Competence refers to the skills and characteristics that enables you to perform a job. To be competent, you must be able to react to a situation and follow behaviors you have found to succeed in the past. So I'll explore this 4 stages of competence with my first time experience of driving the clutch na motor. Sayo na kayo ang pag-drive sa motor. Kung kabalo ka mo drive sa bike, kabalo po ka mo drive sa motor. Kanalaking feeling na howd ka ay kumo-drive og motor gamit ang Mio. Sayo na ba kay gamiton ang Mio day. So bisag piyungan pa na day sayo na kayo na siya gamiton kay automatic man na siya. So that time nga feel na ko nga howd pud kaayo ko mo gamit sa tanang klase nga motor. So ang akong confidence level taas pa. So ani makita-awan ninyo, so you can see nga taas pa ang confidence level diri nga part. This theory describes that many of us are too confident when we learn something new. So feel na ko nga howd na kay ko sa tanang mga motor day. So it means pod nga I'm consciously competent pod because of the knowledge and the experience that I've got using the Mayo motor. Because when we say unconsciously competent, in this stage, you internalize the knowledge you need to perform a task and perfected your practical skills. So it means that I am well experienced driver and I don't need an active thoughts just to drive for many miles using Mayo on a motorway. Like, I am actually doing unconsciously driving. Did you get my point, guys? Like, tanang parts sa Mayo, tanang function sa Mayo, familiarize na nako to the point nga dili na nako kailangan og at kanang concentration, focus, di na ako kailangan mag-pay attention. Bisag piyungan ako, kung magunahon ako break mo, diretso na ako didto. Kung ang susi asa dapita mo, bisag manghangad ko, kabalo na ko asa dapita ang susi tanan. Murag, now I realize nga ang tawag di ana unconsciously competent, and tawag unconscious di ang tawag ana. And at that time pod, I'm actually unconscious incompetence. When we say unconscious incompetence, this is the stage where you don't yet know the degree of your competence. In other words, you don't know what you don't know. Nga nakaingon ko unconscious incompetence ko anang time, because wala ko kabalo di ay nga nagtuo ko nga kabalo ko sa tanang motor. Not until nga ning try ko sa declutch motor. Ato na ko nakarealize nga di man di ko kabalo di ay sa declutch. Uy, lisod man di kaayo siya. Uy, murag hala press man silang motor nga no. Lahi man ang declutch mo di lahi ra jud ay kaayo ang declutch ug ang Mio nga motor, kay ang Mio day nga motor automatic na siya, ang declutch is manual day na siya. So kailangan jud ay ka mag-pay attention, mag-focus, kailangan nimo og concentration ana para lang ka makadrive anang motor, kay kung without concentration, without focus ana grabe malupad yung kas motor. So that moment, naging conscious incompetence nako. Conscious incompetence. This is where you start to develop an awareness of what you don't know. So aware na ko na dili day ko kabalo sa declutch na motor. Tinuod jud ay ilang giingon nga as long as you are in the new situation of unfamiliar situation, you will realize that many of the things that you look for granted, you cannot do as well as before. So that time, ang akong confidence level, after knowing nga dili ko kabalo sa tanang motor, akong confidence level ming decline siya. So mo na nakita niyo sa chapter nga ming decline ako ang confidence level. It's really true, Judy. Once we actually start learning, we realize how difficult it is and how incompetent we are. As a result, our motivation will decline and many of us quit. So therefore, I have become conscious of my incompetence. Through some trial and error, some practice of using the clutch motor, gaining some experience over a period of time, I managed to drive it and become competent again, but quite consciously. Why still consciously? Kay need pa na ko ani nga time of concentration, focus, attention, and the certain functions sa brake. Murag ani nga time nagduha-duhaw sa ko kung correct ba ako ang position sa akong tiil, sa akong kamot, kung sakto ba ni nani. Pero kabalo na ko mo drive. So as what consciously competence defined, at this stage you have learned and practiced enough to perform a task with a degree of quality. However, still relying on a checklist to ensure they don't miss anything. Until karon, naging unconscious competence nako sa pag-drive sa declutch na motor. Like karon, makaingon ako nga sayo naman dai kaayo no, bisag piyungan kaya naman dai kaayo, di ba? You know, mo to the trick to success or the trick to learn something is to keep going anyway, no matter how hard it is, no matter how tough it is, because once we master an area, our confidence level will returns. So next is Cole's learning cycle. David Cole, 1984, developed a model of experiential learning which unpack how learning occurs and what stages of a typical individual goes through in order to learn. It shows that we learn through a process of doing and thinking. So let's see the figure. Okay, here's the figure. Oh, there is an activist, reflectors, theorist, pragmatist. So those are the different sets of preference or styles in the way we learn. Okay, let's begin with the concrete experience. The activist begin trying the application immediately. Like we want to experience it to learn. To experience first what it is that we need to learn. Muna siya ang activist. Ang reflectors, watch others to show them how to use the application. Like mag-watch siya sa ubang tao or mag-observe sa tao before we take action, before using it. Like for example, new phone, kung mag sa activist is diretso gamit na yung ta kanang gamit yung ta ani like na diri nga part ang trial and error, dili diri nga part, diri nga part. Ang reflector is magtan-aw sa uban sa mga tao kung unsaon nila paggamit before ta maggamito na to ang cellphone. Ang theorist think what type of application this new one is related to the other applications in the market. Like magtunaw na sa takal, parehas ba ni sa Vivo, parehas ba ni sa kanang i-oppo ang kaning settings ani nga camera, parehas ba ni siya settings sa ubang inani na murag mag-base sa uban ba. Muna siyang theorist. Ang pragmatist is this application useful? If the answer no, they don't bother to use it. So ang pragmatist murag wise ni sila, like kung pagtan-aw nila nga dili nindot, so dili na nila paliton. Like for example sa application, pagtan-aw nila nga dili effective ang application, so dili na sila mag-bother nga mag-i-install na siya. So muna ang pragmatist. Next topic is personality and change. We have looked at different approaches to change and suggested that individuals do not always experience these changes in a consistent or uniform way. However, we have not asked whether people are different, and if so, whether their difference affects the way they experience change. We have found in working with individuals and teams through change that is useful to identify and openly discuss people's personality types. This information helps people understand difference, uniqueness of an individual. So, kailangan jud no, it's very important to conduct a test or exams towards your people, to know their personality types, to know what kind of people they are. So the most effective tool for identifying personality type is the Myers-Briggs Type Indicator, or the MBTI. So what is MBTI, Briggs Types Indicator? MBTI, this is personality inventory developed by Catherine Briggs and her daughter Isabel Myers. The MBTI based on the work of the Swiss analytical psychologist Carl Jung. The MBTI identifies 8 different personality preference, 8, that we all use at different types, but each individual will have a preference for one particular combination over the other. So there's 8. So these are the 8 different personality preference. First 2 are the extraversion and introversion, where individual draw their energy. Extraversion is a preference for drawing energy from the external world, tasks and things. These people are outwardly focused and outgoing. They could be described as talkative, active, and bubbly. They enjoy being the center of attention and preferably loves face-to-face conversation, while introversion are those reserved, private individuals tend to think things through inside their head. They could rather observe than be the center of attention. Next is the sensing and intuition. What individuals pay attention to in how they receive data and information. Sensing, concerned with their 5 senses and what it is and has been. Like, these people may be good listener or visually oriented learners. When we say visually oriented learners, when you're going to present something to them, use props or multimedia or sample to help them see, hear, or touch your ideas. They also enjoy hands-on learning, or they will learn well in organized lectures or presentations. They are good maybe at memorization, and they often have difficulty with theory or theoretical concepts. Intuition is concerned with possibilities and patterns in what might be. This types wants to know the theory before deciding the facts and will always ask why. They are creative also and innovative and may struggle following strict sets of instruction. Also work with bursts of energy. They can be theorist and pragmatist learner. Next is how an individual makes decision, through thinking or through feeling. So when we say thinking, these people decide on the basis of logic, analysis, and reasons. They may be great of figuring out logical problems and analyzing problem. They expect fairness and treatment of all employees, while in feeling type persons decides on the basis of their feeling, personal likes and dislikes of others, and they want harmony in the workplace with co-employees, with the manager will be ultimately important for them. And also, they also create a supportive and friendly environment, begin with the words of appreciations. So next is judging and perceiving what sorts of lifestyles an individual enjoys. So when we say judging, these types of person, like they are decisive and maybe close-minded and are usually well organized. Like they try to order and control their world. And also they meet deadlines like planning and prefer to work and focus only one thing at a time. Judging types will struggle if sudden changes occur because they already structured or they already planned their time. And also they don't like surprises because they already stick to the schedule that they already planned. Next is perceiving. These people is the one to gather more information before making a decisions. They work things at once. Like these people are multitask people, like they are flexible and often good in emergencies when plans are being disrupted. Their biggest problem is getting tasks on time or budgeting their time actually do while cramming or rushing to finish something as they thrive on the last minute pressure. Let's proceed to the next slide. So as you can see, there are four categories: the IS Thoughtful Realist, the IN Thoughtful Innovator, the ES Thoughtful Realist, and the EN Thoughtful Innovator. So I grouped the MBTI types into four categories for ease of analysis. So there are four personality types for each categories. So I stands for introvert, E for extrovert, S for sensing, N for intuition, T for thinking, F for feeling, G for judging, and P for perceiving. So we have ISTJ, the reliant, the ISFJ, the nurturer, the ISTP, the realist, ISFP, the aesthete under the IS thoughtful realist. We also have INFJ, the mystic type person, the INTJ, the free thinker people, the INFP, these are the dreamer individual, and the INTP, the wizard type individual for the category of IN thoughtful innovator. For the category of ES thoughtful realist, we have ESTP, the adventurer human beings, the ESFP, the joker type, ESTJ, those feeling enforcer individual, and the ESFJ, those helper beings. And the last category of EN thoughtful innovator, we have ENFP, the visionary people, the ENTP, the innovator individuals, and the ENFG, the sage or the sensitive people, the ENTJ, those leader type individuals. Next slide, as you can see, there's still the MBTI type by quadrant or the four category of MBTI type with the four questions that totally related about the change. So what they are most concerned with. Second question is how they learned, where they focus their change, and their motto. So let's start with the IS thoughtful realist. What they are most concerned with. They are practical. How they learn pragmatically and reading and observing, where they focus their change efforts deciding what should be kept and what needs changing. Their motto, if it isn't broke, don't fix it. So these groups will be cautious and careful about change. These people are the introverted sensing. They could be pragmatist or the reflector individual. Let's proceed to the second category, the IN thoughtful innovator. What they are most concerned with, thoughts, ideas, concepts, how they learn conceptually by reading, listening, and making connections, where they focus their change efforts, generating new ideas and theories. Their motto is let's think ahead. So this second group will just generate concepts that represents how things should be done. Those are the introverted intuitives. These people could be reflector and theorist. So okay, let's proceed to the third group, the ES action-oriented realist. What they are most concerned with, action, how they learned actively and by experimentation, where they focus their change, making things better. Their motto is let's just do it. The third group will have energy and enthusiasm to get things done. These people are the action-oriented realists, the extroverted sensing type. These people could be the activist learner individual. Okay, let's proceed to the last category, an action-oriented innovator. What they are most concerned with, new ways of doing things, how they learn creatively and with others, where they focus their change, putting new ideas into practice. Their motto, let's change it. So the fourth group, the action-oriented innovator, these are the extroverted intuitives, will be wanting to move into new ideas, and soon these people loves new ways of doing things. These people loves original ideas and put it into practice. Okay, that's all. I will end this with a saying. For change to happen in any community, the initiatives must come from the individual. From Dalai Lama. Thank you everyone for watching and hope you guys learned something. Okay, thank you.